10th, Rome Town Board Budget Meeting to order, the amended agenda for 5 p.m. Roll call starting on my left, please.
Minter here.
Jamadi here.
Gabriel here.
Had we heard from Cheryl? I didn't get a call or an email, so, well, maybe she'll be coming. We can't really say excuse just yet. All right. Certify the posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Tuesday, October 8th, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, October 10th was posted at the Rome Town Hall at 2:21 p.m., Quick Trip LLC at 2:24 p.m., Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 2:28 p.m., and emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 3 p.m.
Thank you. Number 4, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
door.
I thought there was a ghost.
Approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Gabriel, second by Supervisor Minter to approve the agenda.
Do we need to say the amended agenda?
Amended agenda. Well, no, because it says amended at the top, but thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, we did not receive any orange cards, but I'll proceed with reading item 6A. The board will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the board begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. And just reading some, I'll set the rules of decorum once again, that once it starts, just remind all attendees to be respectful, avoid personal attacks, and refrain from interrupting others. And when we get to a certain item, we'll see how it goes. There may be time for public input, 2 minutes apiece. But again, this is items that came up that we need to tend to for our regular budget meeting and a potential public hearing. Thank you. Discussion and possible action on the following items. Number 7, discussion and possible action on the specific 2024 budgets being reviewed. You want to start each one, or should I list them off? Just start with library.
Overstate that based on the closed session later, the water utility will not be in this budget discussion at this point.
So we'll remove the discussion for the water utility, and that'll be moved to a different date.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, here.
All right, so we'll start with the library then.
You own it, girl.
It's yours, you own it.
I know, but I said, do I have to talk about it? Like, we just need to answer questions about it.
Can you come up to the podium? Thank
I'm
you.
gonna get it up first.
I have a handout if you need it.
Why don't I see the library in mine? Is this a, oh, there it is.
Number 7.
My lucky number.
Library budget for 2025.
That's pleasant.
You should have all documents in front of you, which were updated. The most up-to-date copy, you will see. Read it. So, just a general overview, the budget is going to go up next year, and I will tell you why, otherwise it wouldn't have. Because I had to add in a family benefits package for the potential that one of our staff members may have a life, change event during the year and need benefits. Will it happen? Maybe. Will it not happen? Maybe. Unsure, but I had to put that in there, and as we know, benefits are very expensive, so it looks like the budget went up a lot, but that is why. I'm happy to answer any other questions anyone has.
Do you know what is that dollar amount?
Yeah.
I mean, I can do the math, but you might just know it.
It's.
Oh, it's on the next page? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, health one, it's 97%, doubling essentially what.
And can you share, what is the prior year revenue, from? You've got 55,349 in there.
That is capital and carryover.
That's capital and carryover?
Yeah, capital and anticipated carryover. There's like about, I think, 19-ish thousand of anticipated carryover. And our building, original building is 20 years old, over 20 years old. That's when things start going downhill, so that is why we put in the capital budget, because we are trying to be prepared for things like new furnaces and
Roof?
roof and, yep, all of windows.
Bathrooms that don't clog.
Yeah, bathrooms that,
I
those are
thought
the
we
new ones
fixed that
too.
problem.
We fixed it by flushing the toilets for 5 seconds instead of just,
I got it, okay. More water.
So I noticed you're saving money in library operations,
yes,
2%, but it's a savings.
yep. Like I said, I tried to be strategic, knowing that we would have the potential increase. And if we do not use the money for the benefits that is put in here, that's not something that I would carry over for 2026, because that's my like what if not.
One of Nicole's, savings is that she will no longer be using the janitorial services that have been she's been using in the past. She'll be in-house with that.
Yep, staff will be doing
Staff will
it.
be handling that.
Okay. So what would happen to the funds if you don't use them? You will just absorb them, or they're returned
They
to
would go
the
back to the
town
town,
budget?
yeah, they
Okay.
just wouldn't be included in any
Okay.
carryover amount.
The library insurance that's just above admin salary.
Mhm.
That's not the insurance for wages, correct? That's your other
That's your
building,
Building. Yep.
Building insurance, that kind of stuff.
and that's all going up this year as well, isn't it? Quite a bit. Quite a bit, okay. They've gotta spread those losses over everybody, right? All right,
So do we have our levy number yet? Do we know how much?
Our levy number right now, as we have it in place, would be 105,244. Increase, sorry,
That's not the levy.
that's not the levy.
That's what I meant. That's what I wanted to know. It's the wiggle room.
The wiggle room.
And so right here, we're asking for how much of that? $38,000. I imagine you explored any other options other than what we're looking at here?
The only other thing, and we talked about this a little bit at, Robbie and Jason and I talked about it at a meeting this week, is that we would take out the capital line, but then if something happens, then we have to deal with that. So it could be a loan, it could be, I don't know. That's my only thing. I'm trying to plan, but I know that that might not be possible.
then you're trying to come up with the money on the fly, and you don't know where you're gonna grab it from, and we can't keep going after our reserves like that, undesignated reserves.
Well, keep in mind, these are the preliminary budgets, so these are what we're proposing. When we get to the end, if we don't have enough to cut everything, we would look at that, outlay account that's going up $15,000. Maybe we would just keep the 35 in for this year for emergency things. For now, we passed it through till we get to the end, and then that would be one line we'd revisit to
Within all
adjust
budgets.
on
Yep.
budgets.
So that might help us.
You also have to keep in mind that you have to keep that library levy limit at a certain level. Robbie has that number.
I do. I thought I had the number. I printed it out. and I can't find it though. But it was 351 and.
Yeah, 351 and some change.
Some
So,
change, and
yeah,
you are
that's
right
fine.
there. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Based on the ordinance that was passed.
more questions? Does the board have any other questions for Nicole or Robbie or Jason? Tom, you're thinking?
I do have one for Robbie. Obviously, this is my first time through this process. And you just before said we have about $105,244 additional this year. If we start approving these, does it balance already, or are we gonna be, cause I don't know what the next one, I don't know what the fire department, the IT, the police, and the solid waste, are we gonna run out of money before we get to the
Before
end?
we get to the bottom of the list?
I don't know.
Yeah, you could.
But that's what Jason just said. So then we go back, so this is the preliminary approval, and then we will go back and
In the past,
adjust
yeah,
as we need to
Okay,
go
cause,
forward.
in
to
the past
finalize
years,
it.
you guys made motions to approve this, and certainly at the end, if it doesn't all come together, we have to come back and make adjustments, and we'd point out those adjustments. Now, there might be certain budgets that you
They're
say,
just
hey,
fine.
I don't like that line item, and I'm not gonna vote to pass that, I wanna reject it, that's what we're here to do.
Yep.
because I'm just
And
seeing
so-
105, and if somebody just said we're going up about 38,000, I think you did the math on
Right.
that. So I'm already taking 38 from 105, and I'm like, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 more departments.
That's just today. We have
And then
three.
there's more, but
So,
again, it's
yeah.
a matter
Okay.
of,
So we might approve this and then have to come back later and say,
Okay.
sorry, Nicole,
Line
you're gonna have to
item
cross your fingers on the capital
And hope that my heater stays.
and take that, some of that money back out.
correct.
Maybe is that something we could point out and maybe say that, would it be appropriate to maybe have her get some estimates on what it might be to, in the meantime, and have her see what those might be, so that,
That is a project that I'm working on.
Okay.
I don't have it all done yet. I wanted to have it done. That's my like big. is to do
Understand.
a whole inventory of the facilities, cause I don't have a lot of that information, so.
but if that's one of your major concerns right now, and you think that might be the one thing that we'd have to come back and have enough money for, would it maybe not
Yeah.
help you to get, at least focus on that number for us, and then say, well, we've gotta at least account for that?
Yep,
Okay, that would be, I think that would be helpful.
that's easy.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary library budget with the understanding that if we have to come back, there may be a reduction in the capital outlay section.
Second.
so we have a motion by Supervisor Cole, a second by Supervisor Minter to approve the library budget as presented, with the caveat that we'll take another look at the capital improvement number, potentially. Correct? Did I, okay. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Oh,
Thank you.
rest of them gonna go this easy?
Thank you, Nicole. That was a nice job.
All right, fire department. Chief, you're up.
I may need a couple of cues, Robbie, just to make sure I have
Okay.
the right
Be
change
here
at
for
the,
you.
the bottom corner. Our change percentage.
Yep,
It looks
Yours
like
is so much
FD.
thicker.
we've got a lot more lines when it comes to expenses.
Should print these lines in bigger font.
I tried, but I know you can get so much on the.
On one page.
Do you need that magnifier?
So I have a question on your revenue side, chief. Understanding that some things are still in the works, there might be another line being added to this possibly later this
There is a
budget cycle
There is the possibility. of-
for insurance dues.
And the insurance dues would change slightly.
But not much.
It would be the, local government charges would have the largest increase.
Okay,
So the revenue that would come from local government charges would be the larger increase than, more than the 2% dues.
thank you.
I think ballpark, if that were to happen, I wanna say 1522. I just happened to look at it the other day.
15,000, 20,
1,522.
Would be the 2%.
oh,
If you were wondering kind of what that
Yes.
adjustment might look like, that's what comes to mind. I think that's the number that they have.
but like you said, it would be on the other, we'd see it somewhere else because
Right.
of adding that. Okay, great, thank you,
That would be approximately 20,000.
thank you. Another 20,
Those are hypothetical dollars at this point.
understand. Thank you, that's helpful.
So the only one that kind of jumps out to me are fire charges for services, charges for staff presence at special events. So we had an actual of, there was 0 on that, but then 3,500. Now this year you're asking for 3,500. What are you talking about there? What does that mean?
So that includes the amount that this year we billed out to Sand Valley for contract services that we did work for Sand Valley.
Okay.
And also includes, some of the money that the board decides to donate out when they waive our fees to nonprofit organizations.
Okay. Thank you.
The question I had on the revenue side, where you have donations, that's quite a big jump in, like percentage-wise. Do you really, is there some anticipation of a large donation coming in that it would be,
No, it just averaged the last couple of years.
is it based on an average?
Right.
Thank you.
It seems like it's going up and down. Okay.
And then the overall reduction, we do not have the big ticket items on our budget this year that we've had in the past. We were fortunate enough to be able to buy that UTV with budget money from last year, which will be completed in the next couple of weeks and be put into service.
Oh, finally, huh?
Yes, and we also, we have made it through our tire replacement.
Oh, good.
So that we don't have, we had over almost $12,000 in last year's budget for tires.
Yep,
And so we're up to date now with that again.
excellent. And then those will be cycled through based on wear,
Right.
tear, and
Right.
recommendations from, and
It's a 7-year cycle.
7-year cycle.
Is the new contract with Leola in here?
That is that hypothetical dollars that we were just referring to at the beginning.
Okay, okay. So it's incorporated in
It
here.
is not in there.
It's
It's
not,
not in there.
okay.
And
And that was $20,000? $20,000.
And then
Under-
1,500 and 2%.
Okay. So that'll be added to your revenues.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's look what you're spending. So much there, for there.
And it looks like, Chief, in your proposed budget on the revenue side, you're actually proposing that because of those, not needing those tires and some of that stuff, that the fire portion of the property tax levy is going to go down by a significant dollar
It
amount,
is a
Yes.
significant reduction.
which will help on the
Us,
overall
Overall of
budget.
everything, yes.
That's pretty
Congratulations.
excellent. That's excellent.
It's not easy.
No, I'm sure it isn't.
Appreciate you, thank you.
Thank you. The ones that jump out at me though are the ones that are like close to 100%, like you're not anticipating any grants this year. That looks like a minused out. And then that you have a jump of 100% in office supplies. Are you running out of paper down there for your
No.
copier?
It's time to update some computers.
Oh, great, okay. So that's for computers. All right, thank you.
We're running, some of the computers that we're running in the office are 10+ years old.
They lasted that long? Yep,
Great
okay.
IT support.
Wait for the IT budget, please.
Yeah, really. You spilling the beans early or what?
So help me understand the EMT refresher, EMR classes. These are all things that your staff is going to. These aren't services you are providing, like when you provide training elsewhere in CPR and all of that.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
this is extra training for your staff receiving.
Right, so
Okay,
you'll notice that particularly like the EMT refresher line is at 0 this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a refresher year.
okay,
It comes out once
gotcha.
every 3 years.
Okay,
So that expense would jump in and out on that 3 years, on that 3-year cycle.
education for yours.
Yep, that would, everybody's medical license expires at the same time every 3 years.
Okay,
And the understanding is too, is that because we do provide services to other communities, they have to stay up on this, cause they'll respond to calls in other communities, especially with Mavis or the Adams County
And-
Fire
and we-
District.
And we still respond to calls here in our own community.
They need that training.
Yep.
Just making
Plus,
that
they
clear.
we take care of ourselves.
think you could all eat a little bit less? We could save some money there, this $1,800. No, okay.
That was a conversation I had with a county board supervisor on a side note at one time, and I told him I would fight him over that.
Oh, okay.
Been there, done that, and gotta keep these growing boys and women growing, especially the young ones you're recruiting, so thank you on that too.
We do get our first 16-year-old this month.
I thought you got one last summer.
We had a 17-year-old.
Oh,
The
there
state
you go.
allows it at 16
wow,
to get him in class. And
excellent.
yeah, he turns 16 in about a week. And This is his birthday present. He gets to come here.
Good,
Second generation.
cool, awesome. I don't have any more questions. Does anyone else?
No, and I recall we did have an agreement, we weren't gonna cut budgets on safety, so that's fire department, so, I don't think there's anything on here that looks out of line. That's the only thing that would cause any change like that. So I guess I would move to approve the fire department budget.
I'll second. We have a motion by Supervisor Cole, second by Supervisor Evenson to approve the fire department budget as presented. Do we need to add anything regarding the fact that there might be additional revenues at this time, or is that pretty much cover it with just one motion then, that we approved it? Okay, great. All right, super. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Is this where this goes now?
Do you wanna talk about it? Yes.
After we approve the budget, what
But this
will
isn't
we
an next year budget item.
Yeah,
just,
This is an
something he
FYI.
wants to make you alert.
okay.
So as part of the capital improvement plan that's been in place, for years, it's time to buy a fire engine. Which is a multi-year project. So to ensure compliance with NFPA 1901 Annex D regarding the age of first out fire apparatus, the town of Rome Fire Department needs a new fire engine. Being compliant contributes to the rating the department receives from the Insurance Service Office. This rating of the public protection classification is used when underwriting homeowners insurance policies. Through dedication to excellence from both the department and town officials, our latest rating is 4/10. This translates to a protection class 4 to all properties within 5 miles of our stations, and any property outside of the 5-mile radius being a class 10. The department currently has 2 dedicated engines. The first out engine 603, is a 2005 Pierce Quantum, and our second engine 602, is a 1994 Pierce built on a commercial chassis. Our third out engine 601 was sold this year, and the spot was filled with tender 612 that we retrofitted to be capable of fulfilling the duties of an engine. That eliminated one set of tires on the ground. We dual purpose the truck. The NFPA guidelines state that an engine should be moved from first out status at 20 years of service and removed from service at 25 years. The department staff has worked to design a new rescue engine that would replace 2 existing trucks with 1. This design will lower maintenance costs as well as the need to purchase and equip 2 separate trucks. This truck would replace engine 602 and heavy rescue 631. The initial cost of this new engine came in at $1.04 million in February, and the updated cost as of October is $1.7 million. These costs are predicted to continue to rise at a comparable rate. The estimated lead time for delivery of the new engine is 18 to 24 months. As our town continues to experience rapid growth and development, it's imperative that we continue to update our equipment to ensure we are able to provide the best protection possible.
So you said that took care of your 2005, this would take care of your 2005 number 602.
603 is the 2005.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I can send you this.
That's, the numbers are,
The,
but you're taking, bottom line is you're taking 2 out and
Yeah.
replacing it with 1
Right.
engine.
The 2005 would move to the reserve status that the 1994 currently sits in. The 1994 Pierce and the Heavy Rescue 631, which is a 99 Peterbilt, would then be sold as
Retired,
surplus.
basically, to
Yeah.
another department if they choose to buy it.
Correct, they'd be sold as surplus.
Okay.
So is there any idea what you receive when you sell at surplus that might offset the
Pennies.
cost? Pennies? Okay.
The,
I mean, I didn't know.
The last one we sold The 1991 that we just sold brought in $14,000,
Okay,
But it helps.
which is higher than we
It helps.
expected to get.
It helps.
sure.
It helps,
I just
but
didn't know
it's,
how much offset there would be. Okay, gotcha.
on the rescue engine that you've been starting to design, I just have a question, with some of the neighborhoods that are being planned and being built and subdivisions being built up, I take it this is the type of engine that you've allowed for the size of it to get in and out of required size driveways and everything else,
It has
correct?
taken extensive work to make it so the footprint is the same as our current engine 603,
Okay,
so that we have the maneuverability. That's why we need to build on a custom chassis instead of a commercial chassis, because it changes the steering axle placement, the length of the truck overall.
That
so
turn
so that
ratio
we
you
can-
need
so
to
we
get
can
around
keep
some of
our
those.
turn radius tight, so we can be in the cul-de-sacs, we can be in the narrow roads,
and still allows for some of the older access to older areas that don't
Absolutely.
have that yet.
Yep.
So is that also something then that bumped up your cost to 1.7, not only the price increases due to
No, it's the
the
it's the same
economy, or
exact
is it a
truck.
special
It's the
chassis?
Same exact truck.
Same quote
Okay.
we got prior.
Yep, they quoted it in February, and now they re-quoted it in October. And we experienced a $140,000 price increase in 8 months.
And do you need all of this money committed to get them even started on building this?
No, there's not. I've collected some options, some financing options for it. Shared them with Robbie, and if we
There's
can,
ability to lease the vehicle over time.
at least to purchase,
Oh. We
so-
did that with a tractor or something for Syracuse, I think. Okay,
but it's something that if we don't start moving,
yeah,
one, it's gonna take us 2 years to get it to show up anyway.
and the
The,
price will keep going
and the prices are gonna keep going up.
up. Okay.
So is that price, it's ready to go, it's delivered, you can jump in it and drive away, or do you have to do a lot of other things to it once it gets here? Are there
So,
more costs once you
There will
purchase the
be,
vehicle?
there will be some more costs to that, because there's some specialized tools. But some of those specialized tools, the fund has already made provisions to be purchasing some of that. That's why the fund balance keeps growing. And people are saying, well, what are you spending your money on? We're saving to deck out a new engine.
Okay.
The SCBA's that we have currently in engine 602 will transfer over. So $8,000 a unit. The hoses that are on, nozzles and stuff that are on that engine transfer over. Things you can't transfer over are ladders. You can't put used ladders on a new truck. They won't let it happen. It's just, you have to buy new ladders. So we would either sell the ladders with the old truck or take them off and use them at our training facility.
The truck would probably draw more when you sell it if you left them on there, I would think, right?
Yep.
So, and I'd
The,
rather you have safer ladders for training than
And
ones we're
we-
repurposing.
Right, so, but as far as the tools that will go into it, most of the actual hardware would be transferred from the existing trucks to that, like our rope rescue stuff and our ice water rescue stuff, that would all just transfer over. The big ticket items that the fund is looking to purchase would be another set of cordless extrication tools to put on there to match the set that the fund bought that we carry on 603. Because they proved so valuable from the old, not that the old sets didn't serve their purpose when they were designed, but technology's come a long way. When you can, instead of running 50 feet of hydraulic line to it, when you can go in there with a 18-volt Milwaukee battery, it goes a long way.
Okay, thank you.
And now you said that's not for this 2025 budget that we're looking at, would be the really bulk of the expense would be in a 26 beyond budget. But will there be monies that you will need in order to like sign the contract at some point?
We would have to, as time goes, as the near future keeps going, it'll be things we'll need to talk about so that we can get exactly what that would take.
But nothing that we need to incorporate in what we're working on
So
right
he's
now.
bringing it to your attention. He would like to bring it onto a future board meeting to consider the financing, how you would like to go forth with this.
Be it leased with the option to buy
Option.
versus financing and buying it outright.
Correct.
Mhm.
So he'd like to bring this discussion forward so we can get this going.
Cause I would be interested in what the advantages of going one way versus the other. I'm sure it's similar to leasing a car, right? So there's value in things like that
Yeah,
involved.
it's
And
flat
how
out
long we
rent
would-
to own.
It's what?
Eventually.
A rent to own.
Yeah,
Yeah, cause this is
It's not a lease that you're gonna give it back.
back, right.
Right.
In
Get to
3
own it
years,
at the end.
you're,
we're gonna give it back and repurpose it to somebody else in 15 or 20 if it gets used a
30.
lot. 30? Oh.
Yeah, we have a 30 with
we
the wife
won't
on
be
it.
here. Collectively.
No. Right.
Makes the difference.
You're not suggesting it, no, I'm just
No,
joking,
I'm
but
just saying,
saying we won't by the.
Let me rephrase that, I won't be here.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much. So do we have any other questions for Robbie or the chief though regarding this budget, or somebody ready to make a motion on it?
Already did.
We did
This
already.
was just after the fact, we was on. bring this to your
That's
level.
right, I'm
Yep.
sorry, thank you for catching me up. We're ahead of ourselves here, and we're going to move the water utility budget to a different date. So now we'll move on to IT and find out about the hint that was dropped, right? Not me.
So the IT budget, other than the capital outlay, is pretty much flat. Again, the capital outlay increase is due to a server. The server was pushed off by the board last year, or administrator, I don't know which. At some point, we have to buy a new municipal server, and that 31,000 is the quote for the server and the software needed to run this place, so. I think this budget would be similar to the library. Make a motion to approve, and we look at the capital outlay at the end here and see if that is a option to do this year, or if we're gonna have to kick the can down the road another year. This could come up, I mean, if our server fails, I'm gonna be at the next board meeting saying, hey, we need to purchase one because ours just broke, so it's
I think
probably not
we should.
advisable to keep kicking the can down
No.
the road. We need to do something eventually, but
Would this be the budget too then where we're asking for cameras on buildings or in other places around town? Is that
some
in-
of them have been put in here before, but I think like, the ones for over at the park and stuff are in Brad's budget.
And what about front, this, so that would be like under buildings and grounds if we wanted them on the front of this building because of security issues?
Correct.
Thank you. So just a reminder that we do that then and look at it at that time. Thank you very much.
Where's our server located?
In the vault.
In the vault,
Okay.
right around the corner.
And what do we do for, backup? Where's that located? It's off-site somewhere?
Vault, and then it backs up to the police building. And so there's a police server too, so if that server went down in here, the stuff would have to migrate onto the police one temporarily, but that doesn't pass for long-term, it doesn't pass, federal security measures. The police one has to be segregated from the municipal, but in an emergency,
So it's not
we're a virtualized
off-site
network.
or in the cloud somewhere? We're not,
No,
get what I'm
we're-
after. If
we're
a tornado
on-
wipes us out,
We're
we're
on site in cement buildings, so I think like
out.
tornado, they're in cement vaults.
It's in a vault. Yeah,
Okay.
not
Like it's in
gonna
the
go-
tornado shelter at the police building, it's backed up over to there and it's backed up to our cement vault here that I doubt would blow away in a tornado.
okay.
It's not supposed to anyway, they
I,
designed it as
yeah,
our
I know.
storm shelter.
I'm just
over
used
there.
to corporate things where you always have off-site backup, in case, worst case scenarios. So I'm just
When
asking
the
if we
server's
have
replaced,
that.
likely we would also back up to the utility. At that time, we would take the old server over to the utility building where we have a wide area network and back up there as well. We don't do it off-site because of the cost with the amount of data we have. It was a very, very high price. The accounting software is backed up by Workhorse, in Wausau, so that is off-site.
Okay.
So that's backed up to their main
Server.
server.
Yes.
Right.
Do we have any insurance in the event of a cyber attack?
Yes, we have cyber insurance.
Is that in here or that's somewhere else? Or our general town?
It's in our general town insurance.
Okay.
There's a rider policy for cyber attacks.
The same like you would have on your home policy, right? You have internet, cyber security,
It's a
identity
little more
theft.
here
Little
in
more
case-
here,
Of
but
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
Same concept,
Right.
yes.
Okay, cool, thanks.
The property tax is up pretty high?
Because of the server.
Cause of the server balances it out.
Okay.
If you take the server off, it'd be exactly the,
Oh, okay.
a few pennies higher because of the principal and interest, and I think that's from the police building loan.
Yes.
Yeah, and even though people might see, you know, when we get to budget meeting, 1,450% increase, it's there for a reason. You can justify the
Because
reason.
the server's 29,000 more than what was budgeted
Budgeted last year,
Yep.
just laying that out there so people.
And that's the same as this fire truck. I mean, the cost of a server and the drives has drastically
Oh.
gone up in the last 3 years.
I noticed in 2023, we had budgeted 16.5 for a server.
And that's
Now
what
in
we bought,
2025, it's 31, it
Yeah.
basically
Thousand.
doubled in
Doubled itself.
3
Yep.
years.
Yep.
You bought a
We spec'd
SD
out.
card lately or a pen drive? Those aren't cheap either.
I
It's like,
have,
so, I
my
mean,
IT
it's,
budget dwarfs this IT budget, but.
I mean, it's just crazy, everything's that way, but it's
yeah,
amazing that it's,
not good.
no, it's more than doubled for
Okay.
that server.
I'll move we accept, the preliminary IT department budget, again with the, caveat that the capital outlay account may have to be adjusted to balance the budget.
Second,
So we have a motion by Supervisor Cole, second by Supervisor Minter to approve the IT budget with the caveat that we might have to adjust the capital outlay based on other matters. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Police. Getting back to a thick one again. Public safety, keeping people safe.
Lots of items.
Now, your revenue shows that it's going up 171 too, and that's almost, you know, close to 200%. So just so we understand, the people at home and those that come to the budget meeting understand that that revenue is based on other things, correct? The expenditures that we have to have.
See, they don't have it listed as 6% on it, it's 62.
Well, I'll say it's a tight budget, that's for sure. I mean, like they all are, I mean.
a rough summary, what is accounting for the need for potentially another 700,000 in property tax money?
There is an error in this budget.
Oh,
I don't know what we did, but it was at 6 yesterday.
okay, so it's not 700,000 extra in property tax.
No.
Okay, that makes me feel much better.
That must
Any idea
be
what it should be?
here, police property tax. 199.
Yeah, line 3 on the revenue page.
Expenses still.
I'm looking through it here.
What are you talking about? Here, look at the first page, revenue.
What happened to it?
Line 3, it's going from 1,000,000 to 9.
I don't even see it in the numbers.
Your percentage thing must be wrong on this.
Third line.
Isn't it possible sometimes that percentage thing is,
Well, the-
But I'm not looking at the percentage, I'm just looking at the
about
numbers.
The
You
number
can't even
itself.
find the numbers that
No.
would add to that. So if you're looking at the expenses, they should offset what you would need there. And I don't see any higher numbers, do you?
A weird expense.
Right.
I don't see anything either.
10,000, 10,000, 5,000,
61 to 70.
80,000. thousand.
Here's 465 to 558. Well,
That's only
That's
5%.
all of his full-time salary,
It's
which comes up to
wages.
5%, which it should be,
yeah, that's way, I'm just looking for big jumps.
stand out, and I don't. Do you have the sheet open?
Let's give them a chance to look it up.
I can open the spreadsheet.
Can you?
Yeah, just see if the expenses equal what,
What did you guys do to it today?
I didn't do it,
Yeah, it was
I
saved.
printed it.
'Cause yesterday it showed 6%.
Yeah,
and,
I literally just
when I
printed
looked
it.
at it.
Something's not right in here.
I made some formatting changes and printed it, that was all I did.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the email?
There must be a
Or-
decimal point in the wrong place or something. Where is it?
Decimal instead of a comma or a comma?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's kinda fun to look.
450,000.
I'm not gonna squint that hard. I'm gonna let our experts figure it out.
80,000 is right.
She's got it open, do you see it?
Are they under,
So it's under, department head's budget, 2025. Please,
Third
one that we
line,
touched today.
says 198. 1988. Did you find it?
well, Jason's got it open.
She's,
Oh,
was the one that you had open.
It's basically even. It's plus 4,
what's this?
plus 24,
It's a wage increase.
25, even, plus 27. 42, 56. 57.
No, I had it all filled out. It said 6%.
I mean, roughly,
I think
I roughly see about 75,000 in expenses in 25 versus budgeted in 24.
125 minus 67.
It's gotta be the
But
formula.
the numbers,
You know what's hard about looking at this one too is that the other things are
Something not right.
blue instead of white.
somebody got double added.
Oh, I see what it is.
What is it?
You added the whole, the whole thing is added down from, instead of adding just the, give me a minute.
I would do it.
You know what's different about looking at this one too, it's a little harder to read, is on the other ones, the columns for each section are blue, and the stuff underneath is white. That was a changeover last year, and we just kinda missed it on this one, so it does make it just a little bit more difficult to read. Maybe you can fix that when you got a chance, you know what I'm saying, that the category is blue, and then the stuff below is the lines are white in the other budgets so far. This one, we missed that on that one, so it makes it just a little hard.
Technically it is, but there's only got one that's a category on this revenue, that's the problem. That's why this is different. I
Yeah.
know, I saw that too, and I was like, why does this look different, but then when you look at the other one.
True, now that you
Yeah.
say that, yeah.
He only has one category in his revenues.
So if we fix the formula, it changes that $700,000 number to about a $70,000
Dollar.
number roughly.
There was, to explain the budget, there's roughly a 6% increase, 5%, obviously it's gonna go up by 5 because that's what salary and benefits were, changed. And the other area that went up, there is firearm replacement and police operations for $11,000, that was an added expense. And in the contracted service, if you look, at 2023, for some reason last year admin lowered my budget amount there to 2350, and we spent more, I mean, we had more budget in 23 and year end than what was budgeted, and the Spillman and some of the software went up significantly going into next year. So those are pretty much the changes in here. Utilities, we anticipated 3%. And outlay with the squad car, the squads are what they are.
Yep.
That wasn't it, 'cause it's still the same number.
Perhaps maybe we just give you a chance to, move this to the next, we'll postpone it to our next budget meeting or whenever you wanna bring it back at a regular town meeting too. If you wanna just take a look at it and correct what you find it and bring it back.
These numbers were changed, Robbie.
It's probably best.
Some of them got
You can do the math. So what's here, if this is expenses divided by what your budget is, you still get 62%. Cause you're taking your current budget, prior year budget, and then dividing that by the prior budget, which gets you to that percentage. So that's 62%, so if these are the true expenses, these are right. And I think that's what Wendy's seeing.
No, I think I fixed it.
Okay,
Let me print this.
alright.
Do you wanna wait and
When
try
I,
to
when I
finish
look
it?
back at this and I look at this now, I think I got it right.
Or if you can tell us what the correct number is, we can just write it in here for now, if you know.
We'll give her a chance to bring us the new document, so we have,
1.362, does that sound better, Jason, the total? Yeah, I fixed it.
What percent should I be sick?
7%.
Point 362, let's-
That makes a lot more sense, yeah.
can you please give us that number again?
1.362,565.29. 1.362,565.29. Up 7%.
yeah, that's so much better.
That makes
That's much better.
Makes much more sense.
At first I didn't think I fixed it, but then I looked at this sheet and went, oh yeah, I did.
So we're up about
And that's the police property tax. That's the number you're talking about?
No, the police property tax number is 1,294,765.29. The, what I gave you was the total revenue, the total.
Okay,
At the
that's the number
bottom.
At the bottom.
For the 7%, so it's, the last two numbers were the 2.9, and then that's 7% at the bottom. Increase overall. So that's,
Comes a fresh sheet.
and that's only 2% above the wage and health insurance increases, so you can't, that's a pretty tight operating.
That is
Makes a
very-
lot more sense now, yeah. thank
Yeah, and it makes for a tight operating budget, just like the fire department.
Big ol' X on that.
What is this here?
Well, that was
I don't
pretty,
know, it's old, something from old probably.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
I
that's,
just printed it, I didn't.
No problem, but tell people to just cross
Yeah,
that out.
just ignore the writing on the side, I didn't see that there was writing.
There's a
on the side.
column there that has some notes, but
I didn't do a print preview, or, I just,
okay.
it's okay, just ignore the comments, cause
It
they're
was
probably
pretty
really
darn
old.
quick to get it figured out, Miss
thank you.
Wendy.
You're welcome.
Move to approve the preliminary police budget, subject to potential revisions due to revenues.
you mean actual revisions, right?
Actual,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so.
Second.
And maybe we could just modify that word to say correction
Correction.
versus revisions, because we really didn't revise anything. So we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Cole, to accept our police budget with the corrections to the total. You want us to state the amount, or are we? Corrected amounts.
But didn't we also have the caveat of the capital outlay again on this one?
I don't think so.
No, we don't have any
Okay.
major capital out, unless,
Well, just for the servers.
The
but-
server
oh,
was.
the server,
budget.
That's IT.
Oh, that was from the
Oh,
IT.
that's the
IT.
budget, yeah, you're right.
Okay, gotcha.
There is $118,000
Okay, we're good then.
in this
Okay.
budget for potential capital outlay.
All right.
So there's
and-
2 squad cars in that budget,
squads.
one of
Two squads.
which I'm showing 50,000 from prior police revenue for one of the cars for
Yeah.
next year, so.
So it,
So there's
He
one
has prior
One
revenue to help cover the,
okay,
Some of the costs, yeah.
yep.
response with one.
so you have the motion, the second stands, nothing more
Yes.
from me.
So any more clarification or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to solid waste.
Solid waste, I just wanted to, give the board an update with the approval of the compactors and stuff. The county administrator did reach out to me and said the county was going to be working on compactors. I was not provided a timeline at all on what that would look like, but they said they were going to retrofit the older compactors and said that they could still provide compactors, so I just wanted to make sure the board was comfortable with our decision. If we go with their compactors, it's $100 more a pull, like Brad had discussed. We also do not have the ability to have the third lugger if things fill up, you know, to have our staff on the weekend throw an empty one on, you'd be full on the holiday weekend. It would be staff's recommendation to go forward and have our own. It's a 7-year payback on the reduced trip fees to Adams County. The project pays for itself in the seven years. And I don't know, you know, if you went with the county, I don't know what that timeline looks like. They would not commit to a timeline. I got some emails that, hey, we're gonna do this, but when they're gonna do it, they said they'd be purchasing one new compactor in 2025. I said, would the town of Rome get that? Well, we can't guarantee that. Somebody will get it. So it'd be staff's recommendation to continue down the path that we've already gone down, but I wanted to give the disclaimer to the board that the county executive did reach out and say they'd be putting the safety equipment on all of theirs.
So right now, the compactors we have are actually Adams County compactors, they're not.
They
our-
belong to the county, and the caveat was you had to use the county to lug them. We couldn't take them ourselves or like
And
take them
if
apart
we
or
own our
move them.
own, it's cheaper, and that's why there's a 7-year payback.
The 7-year payback
Possibly
is,
even quicker, because hauling fees are gonna probably go up.
it's $100 a trip less for the hauler that we have than what the county charges us to haul them.
I think it makes sense to continue down our path of
Yeah, I do too.
getting our own compactors.
I appreciate that you took the time though to point that information out to us, that it's transparent that way, that we got that information after the fact.
I think we've had a lot of discussion about this, a lot of conversations with the public, and we leave it as it stands, that we've told people what we're doing, so.
Absolutely.
I assume that that's the direction staff would prefer, but I felt I should make you
Good.
aware of it.
Good information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else in this poopy budget?
In this, what did she say?
Poopy.
Budget.
Poopy?
The poopy budget.
And you got me. Why did you say pooey or whatever?
Does that make it better?
No, but a little more ladylike.
Drop one key off.
I thought that was pretty ladylike
Yeah,
myself,
at this point,
actually.
right?
Could be a lot worse.
Well, do we have?
But did we approve the solid waste
Yeah, I
one
think
last
we
year?
Yes.
did
Yeah,
this
so we
already.
just,
I'm
so
like-
we're good then, we don't need any more action.
I think I had the deja
We're
vu
just bringing that
here.
information forward, so we're good to go, and we'll make a note of that. Thank you very much. Number 8, discussion and possible action. Approval of a side letter of agreement between the Town of Rome and the Rome Police, Professional Police Association /WPPA/LEER, LEER, to change vacation accrual and 2025 pay increase. Jason, do you want to
This is just to match what was approved by the town board, and this has been done for the last 3 years for the wage. And we switched the vacation to match what we did a few board meetings ago for the accrual of vacation.
Move to approve the side letter agreement between the Town of Rome and the Rome Professional Police Association to change vacation accrual and reflect the 2025 pay increase.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Cole to approve the side letter agreement between the Town of Rome and the Rome Professional Police Association to change vacation accrual and the 2025 pay increase. Any more discussion?
I have one question, Jason. So we're just evening the vacation out to all other town employees, is that correct?
Correct.
Consistent.
This is matching what you did for the other town employees.
We're not losing anything with us changing this?
No, it's helping the less senior employees where they're,
So everybody, all town employees are even?
correct.
Okay. My only question.
Good one. Good for clarification. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, discussion and possible action, review town board member feedback on proposed wake enhancement ordinance draft and confirm public hearing date. The board will have their discussion first, please, on this, and then we will allow, since there's a smaller crowd this evening, we'll hear from the public, but time will be limited to 2 minutes each. Thank you. All right, so do you want to give us some feedback on this, Jason, on the information, or Attorney Flanagan on what was given to us from some of the, or given to you from some of the board members?
It's kind of enclosed in the packet. The 2 comments that we got are in the,
And then we also got an enclosure with the 28 other ones by the state that that have been pointed out to us.
correct, those are.
The last one to be
those are the-
adopted. Sorry, go ahead, I'm
Those are the
sorry.
areas that have ordinances on that last sheet that I included.
With the last one to be, Plum Lake in August 27th of 2024, so we're not the only ones possibly considering action at this late date. There's the town of Mount Pleasant at, August 22nd, 2024, August 14th, July 25th, July 23rd. So, I'll leave it to board discussion. And I will say, I did receive a comment today as well. Yes, we continue to hear, I especially get emails, I'm sure others have as well, from both sides on this issue. When we had a small group in here on the 4 side, we heard them out. We've heard out everybody opposed, and we're just trying to find a happy medium. And like I responded to this gentleman, throughout the summer, I've received calls and emails on this and heard nothing but complaints. And people want their lakes secure as well as their shorelines. There's an environmental component to this. I'm not trying to push for anything, Jeff, other than trying to find a solution that works for everyone in this community. I encourage you to watch the October 3rd board meeting. This was not a last-minute agenda item. This agenda was posted on Tuesday. So what we're trying to simply do is ensure that all will be heard before people leave for the winter and we find ourselves at the beginning of another boat season with no resolution. So we want to have an honest, open, transparent conversation, no different than we had to have about trash compactors. And I'm not saying that to be sassy in any way. So, was there anything else that we needed from Jason or Attorney Flanagan before the board starts to discuss?
Only just a reference that you did receive 2 points of feedback back. Those aren't reflected in any changes, but those are the pieces of feedback. One of those comments had made the recommendation to eliminate B and C. One of those comments had referenced some duplication between E and D, basically. So both comments seem to reference the idea that B go, one comment reference C, and then the second comment in your packet also references the idea that he'd prefer to regulate time, distance, and depth instead. But
And I think I made a verbal comment to Administrator Laube that I have no changes to the ordinance as presented.
And neither did I.
I mean, I'm looking through this list of the various ordinances that you sent here, and I see this one here, the town of Norway in Racine County. They have no wake surfing shall be permitted, unless without control of a rope connected to the boat, because that was one of my questions was, is there a way to wake surf if I don't know, and then they have it too, it applies, because of depth to the lakes, but I don't think from things where I've looked at it, I don't think my thought of having some sort of a distance that would be allowable, knowing that the wakes decrease in intensity the further away they get from the boat, the further the boat is from the shore, the less the wake is. But I don't think on most of those 3 lakes, I don't think in most spots, one could be far enough away from the shore that it would make any difference. Because if you put a number on there, I know at the bottom end of Sherwood, it's not even that wide.
The widest, I think, Lake Arrowhead is, I can't speak to I don't remember the width of some of our lakes, but I know the widest spot in Lake Arrowhead is like 254. And I saw some of those too with length and depth and sizes, and that's what everybody's struggling with. And that's why it's been left to us. The DNR's doing nothing, the legislature's doing nothing, and they're leaving it to these communities to figure it out for themselves because one size doesn't fit all. So I'm just, again, ensuring that we figure this out appropriately, and you bring up some good points, but then again, we have very narrow lakes here, so. Time was another thing that was recommended at one point, limiting it to hours a days. Some lakes have adopted that without an ordinance, but. So it's on here tonight to just talk as a town board about that feedback, and then see if we did wanna move a draft forward to, and confirm an actual public hearing date. I believe we set one to hear from the public, but do we wanna confirm it?
We're still just
How
in
about-
open dialogue right now
Between us, yeah.
between us. I can ask,
Yes, of course.
Jason, if I think back to, I'm not sure the month, it was probably June or so when we put this aside. Could be off, could be beginning of July, end of May. Didn't you make a comment that with the police force that we have right now, it'd be very difficult to enforce something like this? And then my other question is, if your police officer or who's ever out there patrolling the lakes, can they actually board somebody's boat? Because we're talking about ballast bags and stuff. It's he said, she said, and to my understanding, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, the police officer can ask you for your fire extinguisher, your life jackets, all of that, but they cannot physically get out of their boat and board your boat without a warrant or search warrant, because that's personal property.
Well, we can board the other boats, but I don't know if you could start snooping around in locked containers or private containers on it without probable cause. I mean,
So,
ordinance we're
Because
proposing is
Coast Guard rules are, they need permission to board.
bow high,
So Coast Guard rules don't apply?
well, if you have probable cause to investigate a violation and people can get rid of, there's exemptions to search warrants
So
for
probable,
things. If
they
you
can't,
can,
they can't board for,
if you can pull your drain-
life jackets or whatever, cause they're just pulling you over for registration, but they could board for ballast, is what you're saying, okay.
potentially, if you see somebody and their bow is way up in the air and they're making a 4-foot wave and
So any boat, a pontoon, a ski boat, a fishing boat, if they're doing this, they could get pulled over with this ordinance then.
correct, if you're operating continuously in a bow high
Okay. So
artificial
it's
manner.
not just wake boats, it's all boats.
I've seen pontoons with too many people on them in the lake with it going like this, and I'm like,
And that's
That's a
mainly,
good way to
a lot of
sink
times-
it.
A lot of times it's the driver not knowing how to trim, but it's also just, they're just the way they got too many people on, but it's usually just because they don't know how to operate properly.
okay.
But was it worth an ordinance over? No, I don't believe so.
So I think our point today was to decide if this board can be united in an ordinance that as a board, we can present to a public hearing. So, to me, that's where we're at, and it doesn't appear on the preliminary surface that we are, but we'd have to have a vote on that ultimately to find out if there's a majority that would support this ordinance that has been put before us. Is that?
I'm not willing
So
to
I see
commit
it
to
more-
supporting or not supporting the ordinance until the actual ordinance comes to a vote after the public hearing.
Well, but you
That's
would.
where I was looking
I
at
would be
that.
fine, bring it to a public hearing, and I'll make my decision on the based upon what happens that night.
At the public hearing.
But we're bringing one particular ordinance to the public hearing. We're not bringing an ordinance and listening to someone come forward and say, yeah, but I wanna take out this, yeah, but that isn't what this is. You can help
We
me,
have to
Attorney
agree upon the
Flanagan, that's
wording
not
of the
what we're
ordinance.
doing at that type of
Cause
public
that
hearing.
wording has to
We're
go to.
presenting an ordinance and
I
they're
understand.
responding
I
only
don't
to
like
that
the ordinance, but I'm fine with it getting presented the way it is.
I'm not, I would,
Whether or
I
not
would
my
say no.
vote will be that night, I don't know what my vote will be that night.
Oh, I wanna hear what they have to say. At least have something we present in unison to have comments from both sides in a public setting.
Well, we went through that though with
No.
both sides back in,
Not really. We had one small group here in June and other groups coming in here in May, and we didn't really have anything until, I mean, we're talking almost halfway through a boating season because people put their boats in the water as soon as the ice melts. But I mean, the main thing was to bring it back before people leave for the winter and we find ourselves in another spring and talking about this all again.
But
That's the reason.
we've already lost, at least 40% of the people have already left.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
I'm asking that honestly. Do we know that?
well, I do, I mean, as far as my customers, out of my customer base, of just the people that I store their boats, I store over 200 and,
Okay.
and just of them, and then all the people the several hundred I do every week that are winterizing and taking them because they're closing up their cabins. I've done hundreds and hundreds of boats. These people are gone. And so-
I believe you that those
Yeah.
people are gone. How many of those would you say are the wake boat owners?
those are done early,
Okay,
because their boats have a chance of cracking their block early, so they don't go too late into the season, because it's not an outboard, it's an inboard, and inboards have, a bigger chance of freeze. So those are usually done early.
okay, good information, thank you, thank you.
And to loop back to Tom's question, I'll just say, the enforcement of it, I said it at the last meeting, but I guess for those that weren't tuned in, we have boat patrol 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, so the difference between us and a lot of the people that are on the list of the ordinance is they don't have any enforcement. They're putting signs up and looking for voluntary compliance, and if somebody violates and calls the town chairman from that community, the town chairman can say, well, the county won't enforce this and we don't have a police department, hang up the phone here. It's gonna generate calls to me. We have our own police department. If it's passed, they're gonna expect that it be enforced. I don't know what I would do on a Wednesday afternoon if somebody calls and says there's somebody out there wakeboarding and they refuse to come to shore. I'd have to pay somebody overtime, I guess, to put the boat in and go track them down, or we wouldn't enforce it. I mean, there's other things that we don't enforce generally. If we get a complaint, though, we try to enforce it. And I can give another example, the 8 PM slow no wake, that gets violated regularly. I don't have a boat out there to
what about
enforce it.
4th of July? We're not allowed to light fireworks off. This town blows up like crazy on the 4th of July.
You respond to some, you respond to not, yeah.
Yeah, and the fireworks people get tickets. If you get caught with it, you get tickets, but it's just like speeding on the highway. I mean, we can't stop every car that's doing 70 down Highway 13 if we already got one pulled over and the next guy goes by. It is what it is. I will caution the board, though, that's the difference that I've seen with these ordinances, is most of them don't have their own police department, so largely they go unenforced other than the signs.
But you would probably see a change with just voluntary compliance.
I would anticipate that most people are law abiding, and if there's a sign, they're,
So I'm kind of looking at the timing of this. If you have a public hearing on October 29th, and say at that public hearing, it was resounding that people like the ordinance, and as a board, we decide to go ahead with it, then it goes to DNR. Is that correct? And so we still wouldn't have that ordinance signed and in place. It has to go to DNR for their review.
it would be in place by spring. I mean, we
So
send it to the DNR.
I'm trying to get to that date. So how long does that take DNR?
Varies. I mean, we've made ordinance changes before, and it's
60 days, 90 days?
I think they say they have to have it done in 60, I believe, if I remember what statutes say off the top of my head.
Okay, so, and then if we decided then after that public hearing to change or modify this ordinance based on the feedback, then I would think we would have to have it reviewed by someone legal, because now we've changed an ordinance that was previously reviewed and vetted by an attorney in other places, and we've changed it. So I think then it, in my opinion, we would want it reviewed legally. Okay, so now that's gonna take time. So I'm trying to, in fact, get past, and it's really close to the April election. So now I'm wondering if this doesn't look like more of a political ordinance, or if it looks like an ordinance truly because people want it. Probably can't, no one probably wants to answer that question, but I'm throwing it
Interesting
out
take.
there.
It wasn't political for me.
So
I was
that's
tired
all
of getting phone calls and emails and in big print like I'm blind, not deaf. But,
could
you
just
know,
make it print in
articles
the
that I
budget.
can't open, so no, it had nothing to do that for me personally. All I know is it's one more thing we had left on our plates we had to clean up.
Okay,
But,
Cause you're up in April too, right?
I am.
but I don't think we need to, I don't think it was left on our plate to clean up. I think this board cleaned it up back in June. When we had a motion and we had a unanimous vote, I think it was cleaned up then. Now I think it was brought back to our plate, in which things can come back. I'm not, but I think we had it cleaned up and it was resolved at that point where this board stood. And now it's back on the plate. I'm okay with a public hearing. My opinion on this ordinance as it's wrote right now, written, thank you, is, I can't say which way I'm leaning, because I'll leave that to the final vote. But I think the board had it cleaned up, and now it's back on the plate, so now we have to decide what to do with it. So, if you'd like to do a roll call vote on it, we'll see where the board stands to have a public hearing, I guess. I think we've all expressed ourselves.
I guess I'd just like to know
Dan is
how,
also up in April, so did you feel this was a political move, or do you feel that this is something we needed community input on because there's so much misinformation in this community about what we are and aren't doing?
It did not initially cross my mind that it could be a political move. It's quite honestly, the politics doesn't matter.
Right.
Somebody wants this job that I'm sitting in April, they can have it.
Right,
I mean, I'd like to stay, but.
I would too.
I can have mine now.
But I don't know, you know, we had it set where we said we weren't gonna do anything till we knew more what the DNR was doing. Well, has it become obvious that the DNR is not gonna do anything? I think it's become obvious, so maybe that's why it's back on our plate.
Yes.
More so than any other reason, you know, would have been really easy if the state would have done something, well then, well, yeah, state says you have to do this, this, and this.
Gets it
Okay.
off our plate, totally.
Yeah, then it's out of our control. You know, I think of, you know, we've had the surveys, we've had public here speaking, hearing from them again in light of, you know, number of other ordinances that have been pointed out. My input is always good. That's bottom line, is that input of the public is always good, and it should inform our decision. And like I said, that's why I'm not gonna say one way or another what way I'd be tempted to vote, because
Right.
honestly, there could be arguments made on either side of the issue at that hearing that might sway my opinion.
so I understand that, so at this public hearing, if we decide to have a public hearing, we're presenting this ordinance that we have in front of us as it sits right now. Is that what we're saying? I mean, if we had a vote, if I made a motion that we have a public hearing on, here, I'll make a motion, that we have a public hearing on a,
Want to hear from the public that's here first?
Yeah, I wanted to hear from the public first, that's here, or,
I
Have a
don't know
public
that
hearing
that-
without
oh,
having-
do it afterward.
matters, and they can still,
What-
well, this is what I would present, and see if this is where you're thinking, a public hearing on October 29th for presentation of a draft ordinance in regard to whatever it's called, I don't have it in front of me, wake surfing or wake manipulated devices. So it's not just a general public
Wake
hearing
enhancement,
for everybody to
free for all.
say that, free for all. It's a public hearing to discuss that particular ordinance.
Yeah, I can live with that idea.
And again, I'm basing it in the fact too, at how many passed this summer already, which puts us in, not out in front, but in the mix. So earlier in spring, before this all started happening and hearing from more people, yeah, it changed my mind. I think we have to, now they're putting nano bubblers in the lake to the tune of how many millions of dollars. So if we're talking about protecting the lakes, and number one, keeping people safe, we're gonna have an enforcement issue, but bottom line is, there's more people in this pack now where we're part of a group versus out in front of the out in front. You what?
So I made the motion, so if it hangs with a second, it doesn't pass, otherwise we.
Do you wanna hear from the? do
No,
you-
I made a motion. We can still hear from the public after that.
Okay. Do we have a second?
She can set aside the rules.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'll second it for further discussion and to hear from our public. So we have two that were interested in speaking this evening, so this gentleman here, why don't you come up first and you have 2 minutes. Can you give us just a second, and your name and your address don't count in your 2 minutes, just so you know.
My name's Kurt Johnson. We live at 951 Wellington Court on Upper Camelot. We're right on the big water, so we see it all right there. I want to say I talked to Jason today, talked to him for quite a while. He was super nice. We got along really great. And I think that's kind of the theme we got to have is we got to get along, okay? I mean, we thought it was all settled. You said, we're not going to do anything until the DNR said, okay, and now you've changed your mind because people have probably been bending your ear going, hey, we don't, I'm
And the
upset about
DNR's not doing it.
No,
Oh,
I-
sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, that's fine, and I know people are upset. I've seen people, there's about 20 of us in this Rome wake boat group, and, we all talk and email back and forth, and there's been people that have put nasty notes on people's cars, they're flipping everybody off on the water. I've seen it all and heard it all from everybody, okay? We gotta get along. I wanna live here forever, okay? And just saying, I think we need to have restrictions, we need to have hours. I wouldn't shake your head, cause that's wrong. If you had 2 hours a day, you could go wakeboarding. Now, the kayakers, everybody will know, whatever the hours are, noon to 2, there could be wake boats out there, they can kayak, they can fish, they can do everything, and they know from noon to 2, somebody might be out there surfing, maybe, okay? I live here, and during the week, sometimes I'm the only boat out there during the week. It's great. I won't even go out on the weekend because it's so bad. There's just too many boats. And with the wind and all the waves, okay, that shoreline erosion is a joke because there is waves bashing up against my shore, and there's not a wake boat out there. There's all these tubers going in, zigzagging back and forth, and everybody's out there, and I get it on the weekend. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say is we gotta get along. Everybody's fighting. Let's just pick a couple hours a day, and then everybody will know. You can only surf this time. Plan your day accordingly. Okay? I don't think
Time's
there's
up,
anything
sir.
wrong with that.
I have a question I'd like to ask.
I do too, yeah, I'm gonna have a question.
So my question, when you're out there wake surfing, how far from shore are you, do you estimate?
I'll tell you, in this group of 20, and we're trying to get more, we're really trying to be courteous this year. We really are. Stay in the middle, okay?
Is it practical to have a distance restriction? Or, I mean, obviously we can't be an
It's hard.
obnoxious distance of
We
restriction.
try to stay in the middle. You get some goofy tubing guy that's going like this, and it's hard to stay exactly in the middle. I prefer to go down the lower Camelot because it's bigger. There's a bigger stretch to surf. I normally never surf on Upper Camelot unless I'm the only one out there during the week. And really, 2 hours is a God's plenty. After 20 minutes, half hour, my feet are tired, I'm tired. I get out, my wife gets in, maybe the kids get in. But in 2 hours, we're done. I mean, we're having snacks and we're splashing in the water and having fun. I just think we can work together on this. And honestly, everybody's gone. I mean, we're gonna be leaving shortly and for the winter. It's, you can't do it now. You should have done this in the middle of you should have done it in July when everybody's here, and then make a decision and say, okay, come spring, this is the way it is. Okay, having it now is horrible. Nobody's here. Nobody's
I
here.
still have neighbors that go away for the winter, they don't leave till November first.
I know, but a lot of them are gone.
But
They're
this could
gone.
be the same, okay,
But all I'm saying is.
but your time is up, sir, and I
So,
appreciate that
I
comment,
would
but I
like
do have a
to-
question too.
If I could, a few months ago, probably, maybe it was in the spring, I agree with you, totally.
Yeah.
And, I brought forward the idea and a motion to restrict the hours of wakeboating. And we had every chair in the room filled with the wakeboat people. I don't know if you were there or not, I don't
No,
remember.
no, I watched it
And
on
they
TV.
all said, no, absolutely not, you
No
can't
hours.
restrict our hours, and it was like pitchforks and torches, you're not gonna do that. And there was the argument that it'll become like a tidy bowl up there if we're all going at between 10 and 2, so
I know what you're
I
saying.
thought it was
I
a good
agree.
idea to
I
restrict
agree.
the
And I
hours.
talked to the members of this group, okay, and I told them, look, 2 hours is better than no hours.
Well, that was kinda my
The board's
thought.
gonna do it if you don't,
That's-
if we don't get along and work together. So all I'm saying is, 2 hours a day, we can plan when we wanna go. Kayakers, paddle boarders, everybody can plan it, and we'll honor and enforce it ourselves. I mean, if I see somebody out there, cause I see them, they come in, they run a house for a week, and they come in with these big boats, I'll say something to them. I mean, I just wanna get along with you guys, I wanna be here forever.
So do I, and I guess that is, at the end of the day, enforcement's a problem, no matter what we do. It's a problem today, it'll be a problem with 2 hours, 4 hours, no hours.
Well, I think they'll agree to it.
So,
I mean, like you say, 2 hours better than no hours, and I'm all
Right.
for it.
And I did say that at the October 3rd meeting when we talked, hours, days of the week, that's what some of the other lakes have considered and have put on their
We'll put an
signs.
ordinance together and pass it, and
But-
they'll have to live with it.
I have a question for you. Regarding the boats. I've had to watch it online because I don't see them. When I happen to go to the lake, I don't see them. But, how big of a wave does your boat actually make?
Big.
Like feet, give me feet.
3 feet,
it's 3 to
you're
4
right behind the
feet.
boat.
About 3 feet to 4 feet of the average
Yeah,
roller.
yeah.
Not quite as big as Pete and Wells does naturally.
It's always bigger on the one side.
Because of the wind and the waves
yeah.
out there, right?
It's always bigger on the side you're surfing on.
Yeah.
The other side's small.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, thank you.
but I wanna get along, honestly.
We got it.
I mean, I wanna be,
You don't wanna,
Thank you.
you wanna enjoy your sport and
Right.
everybody else.
And these
everybody
lakes were
wants
built for
something.
recreation. I said that also on October 3rd. And that's, everybody recreates in a different way.
so, thank you for.
You're
It
welcome.
was great.
Thank you for
Thank you.
addressing this board very courteously.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheryl, your turn, please. You give your name, address, and then it won't be in your 2 minutes, but he went over, so there's only 2 of you tonight, so we'll give you a little leeway.
Thanks. Cheryl Dodd, 984 Fall Court. I too live on Upper Camelot. And we've been talking about this issue now, I think, for the last a good year.
Well, it's been over
maybe
that.
even 2.
Before this board was
Before this
seated.
board.
That's very true.
Previous
Very true.
Before this board, it was the previous board.
Correct. And we've done a lot of research. We've, looked at other lakes. Jason, obviously, and the prior administrator has also looked at it. We've done survey results. I don't remember if those survey results were ever posted anywhere.
Yes, they were, but we couldn't do all of the other ones for certain reasons with names, addresses, and phone numbers because you were required to submit those. And plus, they didn't all fit on our webpage.
Okay.
But we did put out the multiple choice ones.
Okay, and
So when we know what those results are, we've read them.
Okay, and so does the public, does the town of Rome know what those survey results looked like? Cause I don't remember ever seeing them to say if it was like in favor of wake enhancement devices or not. I think
What I
that
will
was the
say to you,
question.
what I'll say to you, Cheryl, is I know we've seen them on paper copies. Doesn't all fit on our website, but the majority of people were against, but I will say this about that survey, it was first when it came out, it was very anecdotal, and it was directed to a specific population of this town. and it was originally only gonna go to that population of the town, the Lake District. What the board, just prior to this board did, is say everybody should have a say, because these lakes belong to all of us, but it was still in favor to regulate it. They were still in favor, so I think, you know, if you wanna come in, you're welcome to do an open records request on those documents, but the original are still out online under our meeting minutes and agenda packet.
Okay, and then I mean, obviously, so has the current, like, has there been an ordinance that has already been drafted regarding weight?
It was in our last board packet,
Yes.
and
Okay.
yes, it's the same language, maybe Jason, you could elaborate on that, it was taken from other towns and villages where,
Similar to the other ones that have passed
That have been-
that don't have a distance restriction
Okay.
or hour restriction. You know, there's kind of three versions, a distance, an hour,
Okay, okay.
and obviously some of those
They were
don't
just,
fit our lakes, certainly distance
it's
doesn't.
basically completely removing it, completely.
Removing weight and.
there were other ones.
Any-
No wake,
kind- any-
no wake
any-
enhancement
Yep.
or bow high
Right.
operation.
No operation whatsoever of any boat
Right.
even.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, it's like, it's not just the wake enhancements that are going to make these, you know, overly abundant, you know, waves and causing problems to the shoreline. And I guess my last comment is just that, again, to your point, you know, the town is going to be spending a lot of money, or the Tri-Lakes and the town.
Tri-Lakes
on-
is right now, yeah.
On these nano bubblers to try to fix our lakes, and the wake enhancements that are happening on these particular ballast and these boats are defeating that purpose. Because what they're doing now is they're bringing up sediment from the bottom of our lakes and causing more of this algae and more of the fish habitat and things like that to go away. And that's proven, and that is written in a lot of documents that are online that I have sent and other people have sent. And
Okay, I
then so
think
the
your
other
time
thing
is, your time is up, and you've
Okay.
gone over quite a bit, but I do have a question for you too. Do you see other boats, I know I've seen them on our lake, or other personal watercrafts tearing up the lake bottom and shorelines as well?
I can't speak to that because I don't know how those are more surface level versus the way that the wake enhancement device goes down 20 to 30 feet, you know, causing the wake
Okay.
to go down into the water is how I understand it. So, anyway, so my question, I guess, then is that if on October 29th there is a public hearing, to your point, Jackie, there would be a proposal and a reading of this ordinance, and then it would be voted on at that time based on public input.
It would be probably voted on either
Subsequent meeting.
at a subsequent meeting, because we gotta understand and weed through
and get
all of the
feedback
comments.
From the
Exactly.
town. Okay.
So just one thing, Cheryl, I think we said it was in the packet at the last meeting. It was not.
Oh, it
It was
wasn't?
handed to us.
I
We're going
apologize,
to
then I
put it-
thought we had it
We'll make
as,
sure it gets into that last packet.
We're gonna put it in the
draft.
the draft that we received.
Okay.
And then I specifically asked Tri-Lakes Animal Year representative what he thought about wake boats affecting the lakes, or counteracting the nanobubble programs. And he didn't give me that clear an answer as some of your research probably showed you. So it's something to bring up with Tri-Lakes, and I think that's another thing. I would like to see Tri-Lakes weigh in on some of this, because they are a taxing body that is supposed to be monitoring erosion and all of that on our lakes, but we don't have their opinion on this ordinance.
and it, to Jackie's, but to
So-
Jackie's point about that, when this started for our group last spring, we went to a lake or they weren't a lake association, but a group that passed on Diamond Lake, and they had an entire study done that was vetted by the DNR. When we asked Tri-Lakes for something similar, it wasn't quite the same input we were looking for. This one, the one up north, was much more in-depth scientific. And back to your question about the ordinance, a lot of these communities have had theirs vetted by their DNR warden, like the one from the town of Dayton and Lind, which I talked to one of their supervisors, they had it vetted by the DNR, they had it vetted by their legal attorney, and some of this language is copied over from others that have gone through that same process already. So, but to Jackie's point, we would maybe, I don't know if we would do that again, or, because again, they've taken a step back from this and they've left it up to us.
Yeah, right. I mean, and obviously, you know, the lakes they are meant for recreation.
Right.
Unfortunately, back in the seventies, when they were created for recreation, they were not created with the fact that there was going to be all these huge boats out there and everybody's gonna have a boat, I mean, I think they were built,
Okay.
so, anyway.
And I know people went hysterical when personal watercrafts got popular and they got too close to shore and were digging up the lake bed.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I think just density of homes and density of watercraft on the water has changed drastically, even within
Yes.
the past 5 years, I would say, maybe even
Even the
3
2,
years.
3.
So, and we have, how many now, short-term rentals? I don't know how many are actually on the lakes. You'd like to think that they're informed of the rules, but from what I know, people who live there, they maybe don't always follow them. Not-
Some days I think, let's just have no wake at all for any boats.
Right.
well,
I
you're
mean,
kinda in the
that's-
wrong place for that. You live on a recreational lake, so, sorry.
I know.
Ultimately, that's an option too, but I don't think it's one we're taking.
Oh, I understand.
So,
All right, well, we have a motion
So-
by Jackie, a second by, or Supervisor Cole, a second by, Chairwoman Jamadi, that we, look at a proposed wake enhancement ordinance and confirm a public hearing date of October 29th. Any more discussion? Okay, I'll take a roll call vote, starting on my right, please.
No.
after this discussion, no.
No.
No. Stevenson, no.
I was gonna say yes, because we have people here that, all right, but motion dies, and I'll abstain then. I'll abstain. All right then, last one would be discussion and possible action, you know what, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm voting yes, because we have to put this to bed once and all for the better of our community, and I think we're missing an opportunity, because there's a time element involved, so I vote yes. Alrighty then, number 10. Discussion and possible action, approval of concrete ramp and railing for the North Town Hall entry door.
There's a quote in your packet for this, it's for the door right out here. We've had some issues with that door. If you look at the step, the riser is not the correct height on it. We've had a former board supervisor fall out there. I've tripped on it, and other people have also
Slipped in.
had issues on it. There's storage that's over in the other building, records that are, a two-wheel cart is used for. It's not a real good idea to go down the step with the two-wheel carts. There's a proposed ramp there. There's money in the capital, building and grounds capital outlay to cover this expense. Brad said this would be able to be finished up here yet this fall under this, quotation to put a ramp and a hand railing so that they can take the boxes over to the other building, and it's ADA compliant access to the building.
Is this the only price information we have is from Ascent?
Some other vendors were called and they couldn't do it this year, so the idea would be to get this in before snow falls, so we don't have, I mean, one person that falls and creates a workman's comp claim is gonna make this quote look very small. It'll increase
Okay.
our multiplier.
So it's okay to go with this one then?
I was questioning the price on it, because we
Yeah.
just put a ramp in at Assumption. It's 40 feet long, 5 feet wide, and it cost us like $5,000 to put it in. But,
The largest cost is the railing, I think,
and that we found
Yeah.
out too. We actually found ordering the railing from Uline is much cheaper than having somebody make it. Because I think we got the railing for like
The fabrication
pennies
of it.
on the dollar. The fabrication bill was horrible for the railing.
We found that with the,
Put it on phone.
band
Uline
shells.
does have railings for ramps that you can buy.
So does someone want to make a motion?
This would be a not to exceed. I will have Brad get some further quotes that can be done.
I'll move
this
to
winter.
approve construction of the ADA compliant ramp on the north entrance of the town hall at a cost not to exceed, was it
13,893.
13,893, but that the Public Works Director search alternatives to reduce materials cost as much as possible.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson for the approval of a concrete ramp and railing for the North Town Hall entry door. Not to exceed the amount of 13,000? 893. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. The board may, number 11, the board may adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub C of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Director of Public Works. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into closed door session.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Gabriel, second by Supervisor Evenson to adjourn into the closed session pursuant to 19.85 sub 1 sub C of the Wisconsin stats for considering an employee which they have jurisdiction over and responsibility, Director of Public Works. I need a roll call vote starting on my left.
Evenson, yes.
Minter, yes.
Jumati, yes.
Cole, yes.
Gabriel, yes.
And we'll go into closed session. Remember that the microphones and the TV All right, so, item 12, the board reserves the right to reconvene into open session as authorized by Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, Sub 2, and continue with the agenda.
Make a motion, we come back into open session?
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Evenson, second by Supervisor Gabriel to reconvene into open session as authorized by 19.85 Sub 2 and continue with our agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have a motion from our closed session.
Motion to approve the reviewed October 10th, 2024 job description for the Director of Public Works for the town of Rome. Oh, this doesn't say interim on it. No, that's
okay.
next to the job.
Okay,
Okay, so you seconded that, Cheryl, or?
yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson to approve the job description as presented. Any more discussion? Do I need a date on there, Nick, for anything, or just as presented?
The date will coincide with the date of approval.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Another motion?
Move to approve the appointment of Cody Knobloch as the interim Director of Public Works for the town of Rome, effective October 14th, 2024, with an annual wage of $74,108.32 and all other benefits as in the employment agreements.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Minter, second by Supervisor Evenson to appoint, or to approve the appointment of Cody Knobloch effective October 14th, 10/14, with an annual salary of $74,108.32 and all other benefits of the position. Any more discussion?
I just thought, do I need to make any mention of that he'll be eligible for the 5% raise, or that's just automatic because he's
It'll be on.
automatic? Okay, good.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Dates and items for future agenda meetings. Next agenda items. Do you know, we have anything specific that's coming up on the 17th, or it'll start filling itself, build itself out? Oh, the fire truck purchase, and look at the fire truck financing. Okay? Anything else?
Yeah, posting of the scheduled board meetings agendas, I guess I'd like to discuss. When they get posted, I should say.
Well, it's actually in our ordinance already. So we should be following it closer. We've been doing it to the best of our ability, but if you wanna have it for discussion, we can certainly put it on there, but we're doing our best, and I think we're getting better at it, but thank you. We can have a discussion. Anyone else? Okay,
This is just gonna be straight regular board meeting on the 17th, right?
yes. And if you're referring to that one
Budget
email,
stuff That night,
The next budget meeting will be October 23rd,
23rd for the
and
budget.
that'll be
okay.
covering everything else.
All right.
that one email that we posted this yesterday, it was a late add, an amendment due to what happened in closed session, but
No, that's not what I'm referring to. That was fine, because
Okay.
stuff like that happened.
someone
It was
did
just
email and
amendment.
say that.
It's, you want me to elaborate a little bit? Some of these packets we're getting for the first, especially the first meeting of the month, when we're getting them on a Tuesday or Wednesday, it's making it hard for some of your supervisors that still have full-time jobs to flip through 100 and some pages. It would be nice if we had, not these little packets like this, but when we're getting the big packet, it does make it hard when it's not available to us really to Tuesday or Wednesday to be fully prepared for a meeting on Thursday.
And we've been trying to, and I appreciate your point, and we've been trying to do better on that, and sometimes what we're trying to do is get in plan commission items that need to be approved before the next month, because we only have one meeting. There's other things that come up last minute that need to be approved for staff to move forward, but everybody is cognizant of that fact, and we're doing our best not to let it happen beyond a Monday or Tuesday anymore. So, but thank you, point well taken.
Because you like to have your supervisors
Absolutely.
well prepared for discussion.
Well, absolutely, we all do, yes.
I'll have some ideas when we talk about it next week, so I'll refrain from my ideas for tonight.
Okay, great. Anybody else? You have anything, Jason or Robbie? Do we have any ideas on the budget? Are we gonna do any budget work that
If
evening?
you're not having the public hearing, I think you should hold the 29th in case we need a budget,
I can leave town earlier.
a final budget.
So we have a board meeting on the 17th, a scheduled regular board meeting. Then we have another budget meeting on the
23rd.
Which will be the rest of the budget.
23rd.
So if you get it all done, you wouldn't need the 29th, but if you know, based on that,
We'll get it
there's
done
a
on the
shortfall,
23rd.
we would,
So
Don't
it's like
count
a-
on that. We got some big ones yet.
It's like a reserve budget meeting, okay.
Yes.
29th is
Get
reserved.
on the-
All right.
And 29th,
All right.
Put it on your calendar just in case.
that just changed.
And the Caribbean in Florida's blown away, so I can't go on my cruise. So I got the 29th open.
The 17th and the 23rd are both at 5 PM, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
If we have a light agenda, maybe there's one or two of the smaller ones we could do on the 17th.
Then it'd have to be on the agenda, wouldn't it, ahead of time? If we have a small, I would be fine with that. 'Cause if we could get it done before the 29th, we've all been here a lot of nights this month.
so if you prefer, we could put the couple of the small ones on the 17th, which should alleviate.
Yeah,
The
I think
29th.
so.
Small ones would be fine.
I think I would be,
You know, like the cemetery,
Yeah.
cemetery,
Put the
Rome
water
Town
utility-
Center.
You can put the water utility
Yeah.
on
Probably
there,
parks.
you can put zoning on there.
Well, Parks is part of general, so I think, but, well, so are the other ones, but,
Cemetery,
right.
Hometown Center, there are plenty that we can add to it.
All right, if we have room for them, we'll do that, we'll try to do that then.
that would be.
And your point's taken, we understand, we are trying to do better. We all are.
That's fine, it's just for, some of these packets we see are, and it's mainly
Not
the
as bad as Plan Commission.
It's mainly the first packet of the month when we have all the added police reports and all the reports from all the department heads. We're trying to flip through 120 or 180 pages. Makes it, I mean, this packet was nothing.
So anything else? All right, so then we have all of our next, budget meeting dates and times and regular meetings, dates and times set. I adjourn this meeting at 7.
7
Perfect.